guys, my name is Michael and welcome to a new GTK tutorial. Today we are going to learn a new widget, and the newly widget, of course, you already see it. It is called GTK Expander. We have no picture, so we do not actually know how this expander looks like, at least not based on its documentation, but no problem because I already have something for you. And let me show you how it's working. Let me put a back script, so I'm going to use the terminal. Well, this is the GTK Expander, where you probably notice we have those two triangles or arrows, and one of them has a label called set spin value, and the next one has another one called operating system. Whatever those names, those label names, you gave it for yourself. The first one, if I click on it, you see it reveals us a new object, something, some information, like a spin button or whatever you want to work with. And of course the other one reveals us also something like, for example, I choose to use Linux, Mac and Windows. And basically you see when I was clicking on the arrow and expander got expand, it says activate because we are going to talk about this. It says opener. Once that I click again, you see the name is changed to close, and once that I click again, now it says close, and here says this time open, no operating system anymore. So basically close, open. This kind of behavior I'm going to show you how you do it, if you really need it, or if you feel that you need to have its old name like it was before here, operating systems, then you don't need it. But you can do a lot of things, like for example, once that you change it and you move the window, when you have, let's say, grab focus on your window, you can put back the old label text. Okay, so that being said, this is what we are going to create, guys, something like this. Okay, for this let us check its description. The main description says a container which can hide its children or its child. Okay, and the other one says a GTK Expander allows the user to hide or show its child by clicking on an expanded triangle, similar to the triangle used in GTK Review. Yes. Normally, you use an expander as you will use any other destination of GTK bin. So basically, because this one belongs to GTK bin, it was, yes, you see, it is derived from there. It means it can have only one child. But you already saw in my example, I had 3 radio buttons, which are 3. Of course, for this you need to implement something else. Like in my case, I used as the second expander, the child of the second expander, I use a grid, and inside that grid, of course, I put those 3 radio buttons, which works fine. Okay, you can and use GTK container add. Okay, there is some special usage. For example, if you are not sure about if should be created those objects before you reveal them, you can just monitor the expander widget, which its property called expanded, and there of course you can show or hide the widget or even create it, whatever. It's your decision. This is not important what are you doing once that it is expanded. It's important for you to know only what exactly this container does and how you work with its information. What you put inside it, it belongs to you guys. Okay, so that being said, let's see its first function. I already prepared for this video some functions, because you need to understand the steps right here, and then we move on. So the first one will be the GTK Expander new, which we are going to use it right now. And for this we need, of course, GTK widget expander pointer. Once that we have it, we can now work with it. And it says, its description says, creates a new expander using a label as the text of the label. What this means? This means that as you already saw when we created, when I show you the program, we had an arrow and some text. So this is what we are going to do. And I'm going to say expand, nothing special. Okay, now I'm going to compile it and run it. And of course, it said but not used. Sorry guys, because we need to put it GTK grid, GTK grid attach, GTK grid cast, where the grid is the father and the expander is the child. 0 left, 0 top, 1 and 1 for height and width. Now that we put inside our grid, we will have our expander, which looks somehow like this. You see, we have a title or something, a name for or label for our expander, and now here it is the small arrow, the small triangle. Once that you click it, you see it looks snapped down and now it looks back to the right. So it's working fine. So basically this is what this function does. The next function, it is GTK Expander new with mnemonic. You already know what, maybe you should already know. This one allows you to work with your key combination, like Alt and one special key which you choose to expand your widget. So we are going to do this thing right now. I'm going to comment the first call, and I'm going to call it GTK Expander new with mnemonic, and I put an underscore because before the A and then E, and then I'm going to say expand me, just to give it a new name, something different from the expander new. Why, you will see in a second why I'm choosing. You see, now we have a new name and it works fine, of course. And now if I leave the pointer and I use the Alt and E, you see the arrow is moving. So this means our mnemonic works fine, which is good. Now the next function which we are going to use will be set and get label. Of course, to get label is just to put the title or the label which you decide to use it in some to store in some pointer, and then work with it. But the set label is very important for you. Why it's important? Well, let me show you something. You need to things which you need to take care. But I think you already know from the label. Playlist. Watch out when you work with things, with functions like this where you set label, because if you set the wrong label, like I'm doing right now, I'm going to show you GTK Expander. We need to cast it to our expander, and I'm going to say a new name. So I'm going to say expand again, whatever, it's not important. Watch what happens now, because we call this function. We made some mistakes. Okay, I have a expander. Yes. So by calling this function the way I call, I made a mistake, and the mistake you will see in a second. Watch. We have our expander, works fine, but we just destroyed our mnemonic. If I press now Alt A, it's not working anymore. Why? Well, it's not working because if you call this function and you decide to use mnemonic, you better put the underscore back there. If you don't put it, you destroy your mnemonic, guys. So just remember, this is very important for you. Of course, now it's working fine. Watch. Of course, there is another function which will save you, which is called GTK set use underline. You see, and this one. It can help you, but I want to show you something. What do you think it happens now if you drop this one, I mean the underscore, which you didn't use it, and you call this function? What does this function? Let me check it before for you, and says if through another line in the text of the expander level indicates the next letter should be used. So an underline indicates, which means it should be there. Watch what happens if it's not there, which means we need the expander, the first one, and of course I set it to true because we need to set it as expander to be to have a mnemonic. I'm going to use Alt A. Nothing happens. Of course not, because like I said, you destroy it by not placing this one right here. Okay, maybe you will say whatever. I'm not think that I'm going to use this one, or maybe I'm going to be sure that I'm going to use it right. And maybe your next question will be, what's the story with these three here? Well, it is quite simple. If you work with mnemonic and you have it, if you set a label, then of course you need to put an underscore all the time back, or maybe if you want to change it to something, some new position. For example, I'm going to use it right now here before A. Now, of course, I just changed the mnemonic. It doesn't mean now, you see, it works fine. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with this call. Let me comment it out, comment it for you so that you understand it better. You see, it's working fine. Nobody can stop you doing that. But the important thing which I need you that you understand it is this one. How about if now you saw the change which you do. So this call it's only important if you have an underscore. If you don't have it, this call is not useful. Of course, this call is also important. The way how you create it, is it based on set label or is based on the expander new with mnemonic. But if you don't use this call here, it is good. Watch. Let's say you create an expander with an expand name. Later you want to change it to something new. Let's say expand me. This time you give an underscore to your label, which is true, which is fine. And now when you compile, you see the underscore is there, and of course it's not working because you only put the underscore there. And now comes this function. This function comes handy for you because it helps you now, because you said that the label should have an underscore. You decide that that underscore to be, of course, an underline, and you want to be a mnemonic for you. So you call the GTK Expander, use set underline, and now when I hit the Alt A, you see it works fine. So basically this is the story with the combination of these four functions. When you need a GTK Expander new, you need it because you are not sure, do you need a mnemonic or not, you want to create or not, then you call this one. If you decide to have a mnemonic, then you call the set label, put an underscore, and call this function, set it true, and you have it. If you decide at the beginning that you need a mnemonic, then you don't need this thing anymore. Just call GTK Expander new with mnemonic, put that thing right there, and these calls, you don't need them anymore. It's just like this. Or at least this one you need if you need to change the meaning of the expander, like having or don't having an expander. Okay, me, of course, I'm going to let them. I'm not going to share. I'm going to let expander new with a new label and so on. Of course, the last function, which is get use underline, you should better use it, because you don't need to call a function. Now here is not important because it will be called once, but it will be better if you do a check, like if, and then you put basically this call inside here, and you make use of the get use underline, and the get use underline says returns whether the embedded underline is in the expander label indicates the mnemonic. So if basically, and only if this one has a underscore, it will be called this function, which is very good for you. So let us call this function. Let me take it from here. And as you can see, the only thing which needs this function, it is the expander itself, nothing more. So I'm going to pass the, yes, I'm going to pass the expander as its argument. And now I said if GTK Expander get use underline, it is equal to false. Whoa, I just deleted something. So let me put it back. It is equal to false or to 0. Then call this function. If not, don't call it. So now basically it's working because we have the underscore right there, and our mnemonic works fine. If we do a wrong call of the GTK Expander set label without an underscore like I do right now. We have no underscore right here. This function will be never called, and of course we'll also have no mnemonic, or the underline will never be set to true, which is very important for you to understand. So basically this is the first thing which you need to understand before you start to work with this widget. That being said, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.